How's it going, everyone? This is GWR Studios, and today we are going to be finding some more goofs in Thomas and Friends. Today's episode is Double Trouble. I hope you enjoy it.
It was a beautiful morning on the island of Sodor.
Alright, so at the beginning of the episode, we see Thomas puffing down his branch line. He was polling his two coaches, Annie and Clarabelle, and he was having a pretty good day. When Thomas pulls up to the station, Percy tells him he looks good.
You look splendid. Yes, indeed, boasted Thomas.
Thomas says that blue is the only proper color for an engine, but Toby disagrees and says that he likes his brown paint. And Percy says he wouldn't want to be any other color than green.
I wouldn't want to be any other color either.
And here comes the first goof. If we look at Percy's eyes, we can see that they're wonky. Thomas disagrees with Toby and Percy. He says that blue is the only color for a really useful engine. But take a look at Thomas's dome. Why does it look so crooked? In fact, why does his whistle look crooked too? It seems like Thomas's parts are all whopper-jawed.
Everyone knows that.
And then Thomas left the station. And here comes the next goof. If we look at Thomas's eyes, we can see that they're very wonky. Thomas was resting when all of a sudden, Percy showed up. Percy was filling his freight cars with coal.
Thomas was still being cheeky.
Look at all that coal spill over the freight car. That's pretty wasteful if you ask me.
Careful, watch out with those silly cars.
The troublesome trucks weren't behaving well for Percy, and it was hard to keep them under control. Look at all the coal they're wasting. Whoever's operating the coal loader needs to be more careful. As Percy went to fill the next freight car, the troublesome trucks pushed him through the buffers. But there's something obviously wrong with this scene. When Percy crashes through the buffers, the sound effect doesn't play at the same time. Watch closely. And there's another goof. Why is Percy smiling? The troublesome trucks are pushing him through buffers. He should be upset about that. Because Percy wasn't in position, all the coal spilled onto the rails, and Thomas got covered in coal dust.
Get me out.
Okay, there are so many things wrong with this scene. First of all, isn't there somebody controlling the coal loader? It can't be automatic. Somebody has to be in control. And if somebody is in control, surely they would have seen Percy wasn't in position. Now second, after the coal starts to load, we see Thomas covered in coal dust. In fact, he looks completely black. But in the very next scene, Thomas is completely clean. Third, why is more coal being dumped? Percy only had one more freight car.
Percy was worried, but he couldn't help laughing.
The loader is still dumping coal. How many trucks did they think Percy had?
Ha ha!
Percy thought the whole thing was pretty funny, but Thomas was furious. His blue paint was covered in coal dust.
You did that on purpose. Get me out.
Now here comes the next goof, and you have to look really close. If you look in this spot for just a moment, you can see a shadowy figure. This shadow was probably caused by one of the people working on the show. Thomas was so dirty that Toby had to pull his next train. But look at Toby's face. It's obvious that it's about to fall off, and there's a piece of sticky tack behind it.
Poor Thomas.
Thomas's eyes are still wonky. Toby then took Annie and Clarabelle to pull Thomas's train. Now in this next scene, we're gonna see two goofs. The first one is painfully obvious. It's the studio equipment at the top of the screen. And the second one is Clarabelle's roof. It's really crooked for some reason. That night, Thomas and Percy were mad with each other. Thomas thought that Percy got his paint dirty on purpose, and Percy was mad that Thomas thought he did it on purpose. Now take a look at Percy's right eyebrow. We can see that it's starting to peel away. The next day, Thomas felt a lot better. Percy was dropping off some cars for Thomas, but he was very tired. And here comes a really strange goof. Look how much darker Thomas's face is compared to Percy's. Here's what Thomas's face normally looks like. You can see that it's about the same color as Percy's. But for some reason, Thomas's face is noticeably darker in this scene. Percy was about to go to the water tower, but if we look at the top of the screen, we can see more camera equipment. The buffers by the water tower were unsafe, and as Percy approached the water tower, he discovered that he couldn't stop.
Oh! Wailed Percy. Help!
The buffers were destroyed, and Percy was stuck in a pile of coal.
It was time for Thomas to leave. He had seen everything.
Thomas thought it was funny Percy got stuck in the coal.
Now Percy has learned his lesson too.
That night in the sheds, Thomas and Percy decided to forgive each other. Percy told Thomas that he didn't mean to get his paint dirty, and Thomas apologized for teasing Percy.
And I'm sorry I teased you.
The two engines vowed to be more careful with coal in the future. Alright you guys, so those were all the Goofs that I found in Double Trouble. Season 2 of Goofs is just getting started, and there's more to come in the future. Now as always, if you saw a goof that I didn't point out, make sure you let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching guys, and I'll see you real soon.